in my opinion, regardless of where you stand politically, the best congressional representative we have going on Capitol Hill.
Documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact, a list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Pam Bondi was a prosecutor, right? She was a prosecutor. She has been in the criminal justice system. She has prosecuted all probably ranges of offensive. And now she is the top prosecutor for this country. She knows damn well that you're not allowed to do that. This isn't some new thing just because it's the Epstein files as far as releasing names of victims. That's the fucking law. She knows it. That's how it works. That's victims' laws. But people like her further abuse these survivors. And I'm going to stop calling them victims. They're not victims. But like people like her want to continue to victimize these people.
I can remember all the way back in 2003, and I know I'm doing a real throwback here, but look, I remember the Kobe Bryant rape trial very well. And his attorney, Miss Mackey, made it a habit deliberately to name the victim in court. And as a result, they eventually dropped the case.
That's
because we all know in the celebrity obsessed culture that we live in, and people who love somebody like Kobe Bryant unconditionally when he was alive, that it didn't matter if he was guilty or not. It mattered that they loved him for his talent and you were going to ruin him. So who the hell knows what type of threats she had to deal with. People have a right to a fair trial. And again, I don't know what the legal term is when you scurry the law and you break it's not attorney-client privilege, but there's something to be said for protecting victims in sexual violence cases.
Okay, first of all, I don't know. All right, so that's one of those things where it's a state law. I don't know what the federal law is specifically regarding victims.
This was in Colorado.
Okay. Then that would be whether or not they have rape shield laws, and there's certain types of things that are put in place in some places. But generally speaking, we don't release names of people that are victims of crime, especially in cases that have yet to be prosecuted. See, that's the whole point, Pam. She knows it. Oh my God, that dumb bitch.
And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victim's survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Lex Wexner is in this. Now, your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files, but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking.
She is like, it's really, we're in this bizarro world. Like you would think, based on the demeanor of some of these people, and not just these people, but people I see all over, you would think that that's what we were talking about. And at the end of the day, the whole corruption charges against Milikowski have to do with corruption, just 6 figures of corruption. We are not talking about that here. Like, this is insane that we are having a discussion as to releasing names of people that are predators. There's a reason we have a sex offender registry. It's so we all get to know them. I saw somebody said about defendants have a right to face their accuser. Yes. Once there's a trial, That's the point. They can do that in a trial. We don't even have charges yet. And she knows better than to do that.
Well, does she?
Well, absolutely.
Not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer?
Because you're not answering.
Let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman.
This is how this works.
Can I have my time back?
Mr.
Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from back.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So
Yes.
I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? It's a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Red-handed.
That's the best. That's the best. She acts like it was just an oversight and everything just got up there eventually. You know, they were just, no. She got busted, and then it took them 40 minutes to put it up.
This is going to be the biggest question of all, which everyone is going to demand an answer to or should demand an answer to. Why was Les Wexner's name redacted forever and only under the threat of subpoena and prosecution did you release his name? That's a question that somebody's going to have to answer for. And we're going to get into that with Mo. Because in my opinion, Wexner, he's the top of the food chain.
Well, he's the source of the money that basically started the Epstein empire.
Yeah.
He was the money seed that spawned.
And this goes back, and this goes back 4 or 5 decades. Like, this is not something that just started. It's been going on for a very long time. And when you consider the line of work that he was involved in, like a number of people were saying in the posts that we put out earlier today, I'll never look at runway shows the same again. And nor should you. Nor should you.
I'm disgusted by everything. But you know what, though? And this is for people like that know what women, and then even more particularly women that are in modeling, what they've gone through to get to certain places. Like people, like, we've known about this, okay? Sure. The women folk have known all about this for years. This is sort of like, I feel it's akin to, you know, when now you have white people being shot in the streets and all of a sudden people are like, oh my God. And Black people are like, yeah, welcome to the party, pal.
Yeah.
That's kind of like this. That's like this, okay? The women folk have been dealing with this bullshit for years.
And in many ways, and we'll finish it out. In many ways, this is where somebody like Bondi is on the same level as somebody like Maxwell. Women end up getting so much more done against other women that men could never hope to do on their own. They need that go-between that presents somewhat of a disarming situation, which is what the women represent that are bringing the victims into the equation.
Well,
Pam Bondi's no victim. She is a predator just like everybody else.
Yeah.
She was predatory for her career, and she was predatory against those who stood in the way of her achieving what she wanted to with her career. But let me assure you, that career is going down the fucking drain very fast, as it should. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, if it's Massie and Kana who are going to join forces, she should be brought to justice as far as I'm concerned. She has been covering for this entire operation, but as she said, I don't know if she says it in this clip, but as she has said, if we take one, we'll take them all. Good. Take them all. This system's broken. We need a new fucking system. That's the bottom line. We'll continue.
One redaction out of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
4,700,
Okay.
and we invited you
Gentlemen.
in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to. You're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to
I
get
want
on
you to
these
watch the video.
matters.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information.
There's one thing I can say before we finish this, is that you are looking at two people moving in completely opposite directions of where the political winds are moving for the betterment of humanity. On the left side, you have somebody who truly gives a shit, and you have somebody on the right who couldn't give a shit no matter what you tried. And hopefully, we are moving in the direction of a true America First movement, and the man on the left is leading it, and the person on the right is as anti-American as it gets. If you hold those values, hold these truths to be self-evident, the only person who's doing that is Congressman Massie, and Attorney General Bondi is a goddamn criminal of the worst kind. She is a sex predator of children protector.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. We've known for years, and this is not new, that white women, and particularly privileged white women, are a problem. They're a problem against progress. They're a problem in terms of, they were a problem in terms of like civil rights. I mean, it's a problem. And there is a particular thing about her in particular, because she's also very stupid. And I'm gonna say why I think she's very stupid. She clearly has no concept of history. If she would just go back and look at history, I'm telling you, Pam, okay, it's always the lawyer that gets taken down. The lawyer always takes the fall. That's you. That's you. If anybody is going to go down for this, it's you and Cash. Yeah. That's it. And she's sitting there doing their bidding like it's just so great. She's the one. Whenever there's a scandal, it's always the guy in the lawyer's position that ends up in the problem.
Correct.
Just saying.
Information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
Is that your position as well?
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim time
this is
when you don't,
bigger than Watergate.
When I don't answer a question the way
This
you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
You're running a massive Epstein cover-up right out of the Department of Justice. You've been ordered by subpoena and by Congress to turn over 6 million documents, photographs, and videos in the Epstein files, but you've turned over only 3 million. In the half you did produce, you redacted the names of abusers, enablers, accomplices, and co-conspirators, apparently to spare them embarrassment and disgrace, which is the exact opposite of what the law ordered you to do.
Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you set before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General
Twice.
Bondi.
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't
It is
like the
my time.
answer.
Because she doesn't like the answer. Yes, that's the problem. She doesn't like the answer. There was no answer because you don't have an answer. And again, this is someone, when somebody goes down for the cover up, it's going to be her. That's what, so she does not realize how expendable she is.
No, but even if she does, what they're only concerned about, it's kind of like, I hate using him as a gargantuan reference, no pun intended, but even somebody like Randy Fine, the way I see it, they only play their cards if they know that they have an exit strategy, if they have an off ramp. So even if Bondi is going to be the fall person in this situation, there is a high likelihood that she's already got something lined up for herself, if that is the case. But the one thing that Trump and his administration has proven, they don't cast anybody aside. They are defiant to the very end, that they'll hang on to anybody, no matter how toxic they are. The idea that Kash Patel is still the head of the FBI is negligence of treasonous proportions. But it doesn't matter because the three-letter agencies are not working on behalf of the American people. They're working on behalf of corporate special interests, anyone with a brain, and Israel, but they're all one and the same. If you knew that, then there wouldn't really be anything to argue now, would there? In the end, I believe she falls. How hard is she going to fall? Time will tell. But in my opinion, she is on borrowed time. One of the very few, but...
All right, maybe see the extinction of the lying Anna Bondi. It could happen. You never know.